when you open up a Zazen manual, traditional Zazen manual, you're told various things, like including to sit with an upright spine. And as I like to put it, you sit down, inviting your spine into uprightness. And then the manual also says you can sway from left to right, front and back. And I now don't do that so overtly, but I feel it kind of internally as a part of inviting the spine into uprightness. And Zenki Roshi makes an interesting comment about this swaying. He says it's not preparation for Zazen or relaxation after Zazen. It's part of the practice. So we should not do it as a way, as if we were preparing for something else. We should not do this swaying as if we were preparing for something else. And then he elaborates. He says we shouldn't do any activity as if we were preparing for something else. You shouldn't cook with the sense that you're preparing for the meal. And I'm extending this now into other examples. We shouldn't practice our musical instrument as if we were preparing for the performance. I remember my friend René Wittmer, he's Swiss, and he's a saxophone player. He's an accomplished musician in many ways, You notice that because he can just teach himself other instruments, like, now I want to learn to play the stand-up bass. And then he does. Anyway, I was always very impressed. But there was a time when I was hanging out with him more, and we talked about practice and performance. And there was a time when he invited his band, when he was practicing with his band in his studio, he was inviting other people to join the practice, to dissolve the boundary between practice and performance. So Zenki Roshi says each activity is an expression of your true nature. Each activity is an expression of your Buddha nature. So each activity deserves our full attention. It's not like there are things that are unimportant and then there are things that are more important. From a practical point of view, I think it's true that some things are more important than others. But from the point of view of practice, what we're talking about now, from the point of view of Buddha nature, or discovering what it means to be a Buddha, this distinction is not helpful. So Zenki Roshi also famously said, each of you is a Buddha just as you are. and there's room for improvement. So listen to this carefully. It's not like if you improve and improve and improve, then eventually you will become a Buddha. It's if you give up this division that I think we feel between ourselves and what it means to be a Buddha, between our imperfect being and the perfection of a Buddha, if we give up this distinction, this division, then you can truly improve. I remember somewhere also remembering Zenki Roshi saying in Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, something like, we need to give up our self-centered ideas because our Buddha nature wants us to. This is also interesting. When you make a connection with what it means to be Buddha, then your Buddha nature wants you to give up your self-centered ideas. But, often the way we practice is we need to improve and give up our self-centered ideas and become better people and more compassionate. And then that results in being Buddha. So what is Buddha? I think there are two ways that our mind, our thinking mind, goes about answering that question. One is looking at the past. Looking at Shakyamuni Buddha. You can pick up a book about Buddhism, and sometimes that book will tell the story of Shakyamuni Buddha and how he lived in a palace and how he left the palace against the wish of his father and encountered old age, sickness, and death. And that means suffering, and how he set about resolving this problem of suffering, engaging in the religious, spiritual practices of his time, finding them not working, sitting under the Bodhi tree, realizing enlightenment, and then teaching others. And that's Shakyamuni Buddha. And it doesn't really matter whether you tell the story of Shakyamuni Buddha, the legend, or whether you include, as we do in Zen, the Buddha ancestors, everyone who came after Buddha and engaged the teaching in a fruitful way and realized enlightenment. Because that's looking to the past. Shakyamuni and Bodhidharma, I'm just staying within our lineage, and Dungshan and Dogen and Thich Nhat Hanh. And so we're looking to these people to find out what Buddha is. Or you can look to the future. And then that's like, there's this imperfect being that I am, and then there is this perfected nature which must be Buddha, and I'm separate from it. There is a bridge that needs to be built between me and this future. It's like we're like a donkey with a carrot in front of us, right? And every time we take a step toward the carrot moves too. Because this division between us, how you see yourself, this imperfect being, and Buddha, this division already exists in us. And so unless we find a way to dissolve that division, it's not reachable. The carrot just moves. So I'm saying that because your conception of practice matters. When you have the conception that you practice in order to reach enlightenment, that division that exists right there in that conception. I'm here, enlightenment is there, and practice will get me there. Each practice, each activity, this is the idea in Zen, each activity is practice. Each activity is an expression of our Buddha nature. You have something like Dogen who gives instructions to the cook, and he says, take great care of each grain of rice. And I think that means literally each grain of rice. But also means take care of each moment. Make no distinction between sacred and profane, or important and unimportant. How difficult. I mean, I'm talking as if this all makes sense, right? But now imagine your practice. Really, each moment, not making distinctions. Not taking the car ride that you go through in order to get somewhere as something that doesn't matter, because really what matters is to arrive. I was in this long-distance relationship for a long time, and the car ride was 2.5 hours. I didn't appreciate that car ride. I just wanted to be there. And I felt that tension there a lot, every weekend. So it's difficult. But you see where I'm going, right? If asking what is Buddha it takes the mind either into the past, looking for templates, or it takes us into the future, meaning it's something that is yet to be accomplished. What's the alternative? The present, maybe? There's a very famous koan. A monk asks Mazu, what is Buddha? And Mazu says, this very mind is Buddha. It's a very famous koan. And it made it through the ages to us. And Dogen wrote a fascicle about it with the same title. Many people have a hard time entering into studying Dogen. This is a good fascicle to start with. It's short. It both makes sense and doesn't make sense. It's great. I like the translation that Nishijima and Cross offer. There's various translations, and in that translation, the title is presented as "This Mind Here and Now is Buddha." I even like it better to say, "Here now mind is Buddha." The Japanese is soku shin ze butsu. Soku means here now. Shin means mind. Here now, mind. Ze is Buddha. In order to approach the question, what is Buddha, we're looking at this very mind here and now. There's a lot of stuff that falls away from that. I'm afraid right now we're just thinking about it. I'm just thinking about it. This mind.
There's somebody who'd like to join your talk, if that's okay.
Come in. Hello. I'm afraid that maybe we're just thinking about it, but the question is, how do you make this connection with here and now? What takes you away from it? Study that. Use this phrase which cuts off looking toward the past, looking toward the future, and use it to explore, what is this here and now? What is this here and now mind? There are two main misinterpretations of this phrase. This here and now mind is Buddha. One is, let's call one naturalness, and the other one essentialism. Naturalness is like, well, if this very mind is Buddha, then I don't have to make any effort. Whatever I do, whatever is happening, whatever I do is an expression of Buddha. Whatever is happening is an expression of Buddha. World affairs are an expression of Buddha, so there's nothing to be done about it. Just relax. Be natural. But you remember, Suzuki Roshi saying, we need to give up our self-centered ideas because our Buddha nature wants us to. So this naturalness idea is kind of like a cop-out. It sort of presents it as if there is no question, or there is no tension, or there's no edge. And what I call essentialism is something like, you focus on the word mind there. This very mind is Buddha. So then we're looking for the essential nature of the mind. We're trying to figure out, what is this mind that is that's being talked about here? It's not my ordinary mind. It must be some kind of special mind that we really need to discover first. And when we discover that very mind, this special mind, then we're on the right track to answer the question, what is Buddha? But the problem with this is, then you have you're creating another dualism. You're creating this dualism between there's the body and there's the mind. There's the body, which is impermanent and it perishes and it's a problem, gives us all these problems. But then there is this mind, and the mind is eternal. It's it's serene. It's calm. It doesn't have any problems. If that special mind, I mean. And then when the body perishes, the mind leaves the perishing body the way, this is the metaphor, the way the owner leaves the burning house. And then the owner can settle in a new house. The mind could be reborn in another body. Dogen says, do not follow this doctrine of the non-Buddhists. Well, we have to, whatever he says, we have to find out for ourselves whether we have that understanding of mind, or whether we are looking for that mind. Because people, not just Buddhists, have been looking for that mind for a long time. Whether you call it soul or Atman or mind, doesn't matter. Or if you call that Buddha, you're still looking for that thing. You also create a dualism between the mind and the world. Like there's this world out there, I already said, these world affairs, they're all coming and going. Behind it is this eternal mind that just witnesses what essentially doesn't matter. What is essential is the mind. These forms are just illusion. Do we actually want to live our life this way? This is a question. I mean, we can hold that view, but is it liberation? That's the question to pay attention to. So, from this point, we could enter into all kinds of philosophical debate. What is the essential nature of reality? Is it mind? What kind of mind is that? We can think about it. But if you take the phrase which cuts off past and future, here now mind is Buddha, when you take this phrase as an instruction, not as a debate, you can do that too, but if you take it as an instruction, what do you do with it? And I think here now mind. How do we make a connection with here? You know how you can be on a walk and think about a different situation that you were in the past, or you're imagining yourself in a future situation, and you're here, you're walking, but you're not here at the same time. If you practice mindfulness, you know this. That's the reason to practice mindfulness. But still, it's important to kind of really get it. It's like the mind is not necessarily here. It's not. We know it. So what's the practice to come here? Well, it's mindfulness. And the way I define it these days is mindfulness is the intention to bring attention to sensation without thinking about it. It's the intention to bring attention to sensation. How does this practice make you arrive here? Because these sensations that you bring attention to have to happen here now. They are not happening somewhere else. The body is here. And we have this opportunity, not just in moments that we define as practice. We have this opportunity to bring our attention to our sensations at any time. Really. Each activity is an expression of your Buddha nature. This a teaching like this makes no sense unless we, if we evaluate the activities. It's about making this connection to here at any time. There's another famous koan. Same question. The monk asks, "What is Buddha?" And Yunmen says, "A shit stick." What is Buddha? A shit stick. Well, in our time, that would mean toilet paper. What is Buddha? Toilet paper. I wonder what this means. And when you take it as a joke, it's like, these folks were just crazy. I guess they were. But does it mean that sitting on the toilet and wiping your ass is Buddha? Or does it mean that this concept of Buddha is like a piece of toilet paper that you throw into the toilet, that you should throw into the toilet and flush away? Or maybe it's both. Maybe it's when you realize that sitting on the toilet is also the here-now mind, you are literally taking the concept of Buddha and flushing it down the toilet. It doesn't mean anything anymore because you've arrived here now and this is your life. Somebody told me this. Maybe Galen knows. That Chögyam Trungpa said something like, I guess when somebody talked to him about taking a break, he said, taking a break from what? Yeah, you can take a break from this activity and engage in that activity, but you can't take a break from your life. You can't take a break from being engaged in some activity. So each activity, how do we make each activity an expression of Buddha nature? And maybe this idea of Buddha nature, this build-up idea, goes down the toilet. Here, now, mind. Now interests me a lot. We talked about it in this weekend seminar, those of you who were here this past weekend. Now is that which changes all the time. All the time. That now is that which changes now. You know? Now, 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 now. Blinking your eyes, breathing, cars going by. News every day. News is, I like news because news means there's something new. It's not the same. This is time. Time is not this abstract thing with which we measure stuff. It's not like the clock and seconds. Time is the change that's happening. At least that's the experience we have of time. If everything was the same, no time. And yet, something stays in the midst of change. Something holds in the midst of change. And what holds in the midst of change is, it's always now. So if you approach this as a practice, the first step is mindfulness, or you could say bodyfulness, because we use attention, we use the body, we bring attention to the body, the sensations of breathing, body sensations you have, what the senses bring, because the body exists in the here and in the now, in the present. So you take attention when it's, locked up in your thinking, and you bring it to breath, body, and sense phenomena. And then it goes off to thinking, and then you bring it back. And it goes off and you bring it back. And you arrive now. And you arrive in this moment which is always changing. And the more you arrive in this moment, the more you can maybe begin to appreciate not just the content of your attention, what it is that you're noticing, this flower, this smell, this breeze, this sound, this feeling, this thought. Not just the content of what you're experiencing, but also you can start to step back and ask, what is that which is noticing? What is attention? How is it moving? How is it moving? How is it not moving? You can bring attention to attention itself. In each moment, attention is engaged. How is that? And then you're in the territory of what I now call focus and field practice. Attention is focused on something, and it's doing so from a unfocused field of awareness. Attention goes there, but in the background is this awareness, which is something I sometimes want to call a now presence. This now presence doesn't go away. Not as a kind of eternal, permanent, mystical essence of mind, I'm not saying that. I know nothing about it. I don't. What do I know about the essence of mind? But I do know something about when I feel located here in this body and my attention gets moved around in various ways, there's a field of mind, there's a field of awareness that provides some kind of stability. And this field and whatever attention is focused on are not separate. This here now mind is Buddha. Hear this phrase in relationship to the question, what is Buddha? If you don't have that question, see how it is your own. What is Buddha? What does it mean to be a liberated human being? What does it mean to be a human being that isn't thrown around by changing circumstances? Like this, we have the statue, the sitting Buddha. What does it mean to be a dignified human being? Maybe we need to translate the question into what is meaningful for us so that Buddhism as a practice becomes meaningful here and now for our life, our very circumstances, our problems. There's another story of Mazu, another monk. Maybe it's the same monk, I don't know. Another monk asks, what is Buddha? But he asks it as, what is the essence of Buddhism? Oh, no. I'm mixing it. What is the meaning of Buddhism? What is the essential meaning of Buddhism? Now I have it. At least that's how I know the phrase. What is the essential meaning of Buddhism? Great question. Mazu says, what is the meaning of this very moment? Is he just dismissing the question? Can we take this question seriously? What is the meaning of this moment? I can think about it. To come up with something. The meaning of this moment is, I don't know, that we understand something about Buddhism. Since we're sitting here, me talking about it, you listening. But from this question from a more internalized question of what is Buddha, what is the me, like asking this with your heart, with your life. What is the meaning of this moment? Personally, there's the doing of the moment, and now I'm speaking about it, but it's like the meaning of this moment is to carry the present into the present. How do you carry this present into the present? How do you do it? How do you do it in a dignified way, in a kind way, in a wise way, in an appropriate way? So we cannot say, oh, whatever I do is fine. This naturalness misunderstanding, misinterpretation. Because there's this edge of like, so how do we do it? What now? Here, now. Thank you very much.